Welcome back, everyone. Pal Ponder All Weather here. The atmosphere has completely turned around from what we've seen just the last 7 days with that Arctic blast. Now we're dealing with that warm air evacuation coming in from the deep south. That's pulling all that tropical moisture. But on the leading edge, we still have some of that Arctic air around. And this morning, they're dealing with some icy issues, even some snow across this region. But out the west coast, that subtropical jet stream is alive and well with that El Nino, and they found out yesterday down there in San Diego with extensive and major flooding for them. In fact, they had the most rain they've ever seen in a day in the month of January since records began since 1850, folks. That's a long time. That same dynamic system will be moving across, and you can see all this abundance amount of moisture combining with this other system coming in from the deep tropics, and that sets the stage for major flooding across these areas into the southeast for the next couple of days. So I appreciate all my subscribers out there. This channel's up to 235,000 subscribers. I appreciate each and every one of you. I'm here on a daily basis putting out a lot of content. So if you are new here, and if you like daily breakdowns, hit the subscribe button and follow along throughout 2024. So let's really get into this, because here's the map. And you can tell with that warm air evacuation, this is fog advisories. Yeah, that goes all the way down to the deep south to Texas and to Canada, folks. That tells you warm air evacuation is coming back with the humidity and the moisture supply. So we've already got, with the rain that we got inundated yesterday, now compounding the effect with another disturbance is going to be moving across. We do have flood watches down here into portions of South and Central Texas, going into Louisiana, into Mississippi, including portions of Alabama. On the northern flank here, we still have that winter weather advisory that we have to be dealing with. Just, I think it's a morning type of event where those temperatures are right around that freezing mark, slightly below freezing, with that extensive, some freezing rain and freezing drizzle, and then transfer to snow, I think, in the afternoon hours. Looking at the temperatures, they are kind of crucial. Further south, you can see that warm air evacuation, right? The low 60s down here into the Houston area, into Louisiana. That tells you the moisture supply is back. The dew points are up. In fact, they're going to be dealing with even some severe weather down further south. But the crucial temperatures this morning are right around in northern Illinois, getting into southern portions of Wisconsin, into Michigan. That's where the temperatures are right around that 32, 31, 30 degrees. And they're going to be dealing with that kind of freezing rain, glaze, drizzle on the roadways, and then transfer, I think, to all snow into the afternoon hours. So we're going to delve into the details on the forecast. But first, a word from my sponsor.
Wow! I just Googled your name. Is your phone number 972-575? You can Google anything to find out all kinds of private information on someone, which includes your personal info. I'm always looking to protect my family's privacy. It's a lot of work searching the internet, calling companies, etc., to find out and have them remove all the information. That's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, Aura. Aura is an identity protection service. They make it easy for you by searching the internet for anything that may be public and simply delete it. Literally, all kinds of data brokers are making bank by selling your info to robocallers. It's crazy how many robocallers I get on a daily basis. Not anymore. With Aura, they submit a request on your behalf. They send me notifications that someone is looking for your personal info. Would you like us for it deleted? Absolutely, I would. Aura is an all-in-one platform to make your life easier. Everything is right there. Your info is fully protected in this huge, big encrypted vault they have. Aura does so much to protect your family's privacy that you can't see. It's really easy to set up, and you get everything in all one affordable price. You tell it what you want updated and notified on, and just like that, you're protected. If you're concerned about your personal information being out there, Aura is the app for you. Aura is giving you a free 2-week trial to try it out. Click on the link below, aura.com/pal, and sign up. Put all your personal information in there and let Aura work its magic. I promise you'll love it. You have nothing to lose, Sign up and give it a shot. See the number of robocallers reduce, check your credit, get your personal information off the internet that could be used for fraudulent purposes. Now you go get protected.
So let's talk about the forecast here. You can actually see what we're looking at here. So you got that stalled frontal boundary out here with this system. You got the warm air advection coming in from the deep south. That's going to set the stage for along that warm front for very heavy rain later on this afternoon in and around the Houston area, into central Texas, into North Texas, and especially getting into Louisiana and Mississippi there. There's the northern flank of that system with that freezing drizzle, freezing rain, and then transferring to all snow further north. But you can see the warm air, right? This is the warm front pulling further north, so it's not going to last long. This is eventually just going to transfer to an all rain event as we get deeper into the morning hours, into the afternoon. But further south, with those combination of those two storm systems that will be combining, yes, we're talking extensive flooding down here across this deep south here. This is why they upped the ante from the Weather Prediction Center for a moderate risk for excessive rainfall. So down here, I think it originates today down here towards the San Antonio region into the Dallas region, but really starts to have more convective banding down here into Austin. They picked up 3 to 4 inches of rainfall just yesterday. Now we're talking another inch or two today, and the very heavy rain extends into Southeast Texas, into East Texas, going into Shreveport region, all the way up into Little Rock, and that will be extended in the Jackson region, all the way up into Memphis. And that's just today. And then going into tomorrow, we still have that training convective complexes of storms with very heavy rain. So we got back-to-back moderate risk for excessive rainfall. So any one of these days, you could easily pick up within the moderate risk 4 to 6, if not almost to 8 inches in some of these isolated spots just within that 24-hour time span. So when you have two of them back to back, yeah, it's not out of the question. We could be looking at some 1 foot totals just over the next 2 days across some of these regions. So I'm looking at for very heavy rainfall and some extensive flooding. That's why they do have the flash flood watches, and these will likely be extended. Likely going to be flash flood warnings in a lot of these areas as this really convective banding of training thunderstorms start to unfold. So we've got some severe aspect for the storms on far the deep south, just more or less of the marginal risk, nothing too out of hand. But the main concern with these systems are just the very heavy rain that's going to be inundating that area. So this morning, you can see on the leading edge, you know, we had that freezing rain in the morning hours. I think it just transfers to all rain as we get into that noon time frame. But further north, it'll be all snow into southern portions of, you know, Wisconsin here into Michigan, heading up into the upper Great Lakes region through New York. So I'm not looking at some, you know, probably some 1 to maybe 3 inch totals from this system. But eventually that warm air advection is going to win out. And then it's just even going to transfer to all rain even for them. But yeah, that surge, we've been kind of talking about this for a while, but it's all coming from the deep tropics. And it's very rare this time of year to see something like that and seeing the water content values upwards to 99%. That tells you we're looking at a very high impact event for this time of year in the month of January. You just don't see this much available water content, you know, for these storm systems. That's why we've got the concern of extensive flooding across this region, because it's a slow moving system. It will take its sweet time to get out of its wake. And the concern for very heavy rainfall is high because of the water content values are upwards to 2 inches per hour, folks. So it doesn't take long. And the convective banding, if it just kind of sits there and stalls what happened in San Diego just yesterday, yeah, the concern over a couple of days across this region would be extensive flooding. The fortunate thing is it's moved out of the West Coast, at least for now, but it's highlighted over Texas and over Louisiana and Mississippi and in Alabama through Tennessee. And I think it eventually heads up all the way to Kentucky and to Indiana. So this won't be freezing rain or snow by then. It'll just be all rain going into that Wednesday time frame, heading up even for them. But on the leading edge, yes, we've got to be concerned about, at least on the initial start in the morning hours, of some of this transferring to some of that freezing rain that they're dealing with this morning. And I think as you extend further into tomorrow morning, that will be shifting further north. So overall, for the next 2 days, this is where you could see some freezing rain, freezing drizzle as that warm air advection comes up from the south. And this would be pushing further and further north as you get deeper into that Thursday time frame. But eventually by Friday, it's all the colder air is gone, and then everybody's going to be just rain. There won't be snow around, it won't be freezing rain around. We'll be just talking about all rain by then. But the snow between now and then, again, like I mentioned, it's 1 to 3 inches in some of these spots. Some of these gray areas, a trace to 1 inch. Some of these blue areas, 1 to 3 inches. So I'm not expecting much snow out of this deal. But yeah, those places into Buffalo, those places in upstate New York, yeah, I could pick up another, 1 to 3 inches of snow. But the concern is the rain, because the continuous moisture supply, and you start seeing these values up here in the deep purple, that tells you that's extremely heavy rain that could start to unfold over the next 48 hours with these convective banding systems. So we got the system coming in off the west coast, and that trails through the southern flank here across Arizona, through New Mexico, and then it really picks up steam because we've got the moisture supply from the Gulf of Mexico combining with the more active subtropical jet stream, and that contains the funnel effect as these two systems kind of merge together and continues to pull in that very extensive, very heavy rain. So the concern, looking at some of the shorter range, high resolution guidance, these continue to get even more bullish with every update. And some of these could be some extensive flooding here with 4 to 6 inches. But yes, down here where the convective banding here through the Beaumont Port Arthur region into far extreme portions of southeast Texas, getting into Louisiana. Now remember, these areas are in some areas in exceptional drought, extreme drought, moderate drought. This could be some drought busting rains. They've had a lot of rainfall lately. We've already put a major dent in the drought with what they saw just 2 months ago. But this one, this one with what's coming could even put an extensive dent in this drought that's coming up. So they need the rain. They just don't need it this much, because looking at some of these forecasts and some of the convective banding and, through Beaumont, easily 6 to 10 inches, through Alexandria, down here towards the central Louisiana region. So these convective bandings is the most concerning factor. And that's why the Weather Prediction Center has upped the ante on these moderate risk for excessive rainfall. We're getting into dangerous territory where, you can't, drive across a road that you can't see the bottom. It only takes 6 inches to elevate your car and lift it up and send it downstream. So, and water travels about 6 to 12 miles an hour. It's enough to knock you off your feet sometimes and take you downstream. So this is, flash flooding is nothing to play with, and be highly concerned, and don't drive across barriers or anything like that, because it could definitely lead to, harm's way. But the warm up is real, folks. I mean, you get the massive Arctic blast that we just came out of, right? We had extensive 20 upwards to 30 below, average over a 7-day period. That's kind of hard to do. In fact, I was reading some of the reports the third week of January. It was the coldest we saw in the third week of January in 30 years, right? So it's been a while since we've had some of that in just that third week of January. So you get the rebound effect. Now we're on that rebound effect and the plunge, and you get the opposite. Now it's the complete opposite of the effect. The warm up is coming back. You got well above, 20 degrees above average now instead of 20 degrees below average for a lot of these areas. That warm air advection continues to lift further northward, and it's got a steady stream of moisture to be working with, right? You got all the moisture supply even into Thursday going into the southeast. Now it's just all rain up here and across the Ohio Valley, even into portions of Michigan here, as the freeze line goes well back up into Canada by then. But look at the paint bomb that's going to paint over the picture. So we've got, going through the rest of the month of January, the warm up is definitely where the polar vortex goes back to strong. But there is a little piece here. Notice the pink here just sitting out like a sore thumb. It's not going all completely gone. It's setting up over Alaska. In fact, it gets dangerously cold out there. You got the extreme events, 40, 50, 60 below zero out there into Alaska for an extended period of time, as much of the lower 48 continues to be on the warmer side. But taking you out into the Pacific, look at this, folks. This is an active jet stream out there in the Pacific. That tells me these winds are flying at 200 knots. And that's a steady moisture supply. So you want more rain across the West Coast, you're going to get it, because these relentless steady streams of atmospheric river is going to pummel the West Coast over the next 2 weeks as the Arctic air and the polar vortex retreats and becomes strong again. And the more active Pacific jet stream kind of takes over, but that also pulls in all that additional moisture supply and pumps it into the US and bringing more heavy rain for the West Coast. So setting up shop, here's the setup. You've got relentless systems even heading into this weekend. We got another one. The train starts setting going, right? We've got one trailing behind that. We got another one trailing behind that. We got another one trailing behind that, right? It's once that train starts, it's not going to stop, because that caboose doesn't have a caboose on it, because the atmospheric river extends at least for the next 2 weeks with that extensive moisture supply. So if we look at this and kind of zoom in, here we'll break it down for the next 5 days. We got the first 5 days with these blue 2, 3, upwards to 400% above average for this time of year between now and Saturday. Looking out the West Coast, you can see the beginning stages of that atmospheric river coming back into play for the Pacific Northwest. But we go beyond that and go into those last couple of days of January, first couple of days of February. You've got the drying out starting across the southeast and much of the east, but then they're starting to feel the effects of those atmospheric rivers, and those areas across the West Coast will start feeling those 2, 3, 400% above average rains all the way down into southern portions of California here, with very heavy rainfall. So, but once we get into that first week of February, things start to change a little bit again, because I do feel the ridge will start to be retreating back north. Some of this Arctic air, some of this colder air will start to get dislodged from Alaska, and now it's going to be tapping into the more active subtropical jet stream at the same time as we go into that first week of February here. And looking at that, yeah, look at all that moisture supply it's going to be able to tap into. So this is going through on the ensemble guidance through that first week of February. I think a lot of this starts on February the 4th, going into that first week of February. But look at the combination with some of that Arctic air bleeding it, coming in down from Alaska, tapping into some of that more active subtropical jet stream. Things get more interesting again, as we'll start to be looking at some very extensive heavy rains, likely some mountain snows, and eventually this will head into the central US with above average rains mixing up with some of that colder air too, going into that first week of February. So things look to get more interesting by then, as far as wintry precipitation coming back on the table by then. So I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch my next update, where I protect you before and after the storm.